So the next thing I want to jump into then is why that is happening, and the what being this acceptance of, look, there must be a better way, because I think now people are seeing it. Like, and I think social media has a lot to do with that. And I don't want to make this a social media conversation. It's just more visible to people. Yeah. Things like competitive shooting, practical shooting. It's becoming people are starting to recognize it as this has some value. The practical shooting will get you killed in the streets thing that's going away. There's a large crowd that's still holding on to that, but let's talk about this acceptance of there's more to be learned out there. I'm recognizing that as an officer or as a department or as an agency, and it's okay. And not only is it okay, it's necessary that we go out and we explore these things and we bring folks like you in to train this stuff. And so going back to the practical shooting piece, I wonder what your thoughts are on kind of what you're seeing going on right now in the industry at large, but specifically with law enforcement as it relates to practical shooting.
Number one, man, I'm sure I don't know how trends start. Like I don't know what starts that, right? But what I constantly see and hear and hear, testified is cops as a general culture, right? Like, who do cops love to hang out with more than anybody else?
Yeah,
right?
Cops,
it's freaking
right?
Cops, man. Like they're not. It's not that we're not friends. It's not that we're not cordial. It's not that we're not homeboys. It's nothing like that. But those aren't my people, man. My people are normal dudes, right? Cops are their own culture, and I think what is happening is that, like, they didn't want to listen to me, but when half the people in the department go to this class by this practical shooter that showed up or whatever, and they come back and they're like, dude, that was crazy, right? When enough people start talking like that, everybody becomes curious, right? And then when enough people take the plunge into that, it becomes like it's okay to cross that threshold now. Like my home, it's almost like peer pressure almost, right? Yeah. Like my homeboys are doing it. Okay, so this is the cool thing now. And I think a whole lot of dudes are just doing it, frankly, because that's what their mates are doing. I don't think they like, until they go and they experience it, I don't think they think it's going to be a whole lot that it becomes, right? My buddy Grant Yunt comes to mind from Colorado. He was actually on my podcast, and he's a great example, man. He's I can't remember exactly what he said that led him to be doing this, but another cop that was a buddy of his, he had reached out to some cop buddies, and he was like, hey man, what's some good classes, this, that, and the other, and they recommended Riley Bowman and me that were coming to town. And he said, man, I signed up for your course. And he said, and frankly, I did not expect much, and he said, and then you told us that we were going to be doing build drills at 25 yards. And I remember thinking, who is this freak, man? Like, we don't do build drills at 25 yards. Like, that's a 7-yard drill. Like, what are you talking about?
This goes right back to where we started with this conversation.
And then you did it in like 3 seconds clean. And he said, and that was like the first time I ever realized what was possible. Like, I had never seen anything like that before. Like he said, my brain didn't even fathom that was a thing. You know what I mean? And so that, like, when that occurs, that's where the fire starts, right? And like now, like that dude, like he's changing like he's the training coordinator for his department. He's changing everything. You know what I mean? And I think it's because, like, it's very hard to argue, man, that maximum points and minimum time is the way. Like, that's a hard argument if you're going to stand against it. You know what I mean? Like, you better have some really, really good data to stand in front of, I'm going to shoot more accurately and more faster than you can, and somehow you're going to come out on top. Like, explain that to me.
It's a tough argument.
Right. And so I think, again, that, as human nature is, people want to belong more than anything else, right? And the last thing you want to do is be the copper in the department that's holding on to antiquated stuff, right? Like, you're going to just assimilate eventually, right? But I think, like, normally that's perceived as a negative thing or a bad thing, but in this case, it actually is a very good thing, right? The dudes that are the leaders in these departments, right? I think of like Ollie from San Francisco, like they are leading these men down these roads, and they're following them because they have found an experience with these men that what they say is typically good. So I'm going to go. right? And then they're seeing it, and then they tell people, right? It's kind of like this tree of conversation that occurs where people start hearing about it and hearing about it and hearing about it, and finally everybody's like, I want to go see what the heck this is all about, man. And then just like me, and very likely you, I've never talked to you about it, but like most people I know that shoot pretty well, at some point your eyes were open to what was possible that you didn't realize, right? And that's where either you have a choice to make. You can either hold on to what you've always done and self-justify it somehow,
Be comfortable.
or it's time to get better, man. You know what I mean? And I think that's what's happening.
Yeah, I would agree. There's definitely a trend going that way. It's becoming it. I don't know if like trendy is the right. I don't know if trend is the right word. It's almost more of it's for me is like an evolution. And so when I look at kind of where when I stepped into this whole world of trying to understand it all first and then try to put all the pieces together, there was a lot of argument about the competition thing, and it was very new. And now every city you go to, not every, I got to drive several cities over if I want to get into a competition or whatever. It's not as accessible, but the point of this is you can go kind of anywhere in the country, and there's going to be something near you if you want to go do it. And I'm not so sure that didn't exist before. It's just now people are more aware of it. And to your point, going back to you mentioned Ali, there's a champion kind of everywhere that's pushing this in some level. Not everybody's listening to them, and not everybody wants to be a part of it, and that's fine. But the point of that being is there's one dude, right? There's one human that's kind of driving it, and then you get two, and then you get three, and kind of think what you're seeing, going back to the trend of the evolution, is like this critical mass of people wanting to be part of the cool crowd maybe, but also recognizing that the cool crowd is better at this stuff than they are, and that holding on to those convictions, whatever they are, that level of comfort is holding them back, and that they're going to get left behind and they're not going to be part of the cool crowd if they don't at least give it a try.